Sorry, I am in the middle of moving, but I want to make some time to give you a little bit of information about how we live and the way we want to live. So we're going to talk a little bit about dwellings for the digital nomad. Moving. Any of you moved lately? Yeah? How do you feel about it? Yeah, you like it? I can't hear you at all up here. Yeah, it's pretty awful, right? So you're looking out, you've got a bunch of boxes, it defines your life, right? My wife and I, in the last 4 years, we moved 10 times. I'm not kidding. Business, grad school, summer jobs, more summer jobs, more grad school, and then work. And if you've moved, you know that you lose a bunch of time on either end. If you're lucky, you got a U-Haul, but you know, sometimes this is your only solution. Brings back fond memories, doesn't it? So, in essence, you have boxes, lots of boxes. You've got productivity loss, you've got all sorts of time involved, all sorts of expense, and you've got a month on either end, no doubt. Packing, unpacking. So, the question is, with moving, are there other costs? Well, research shows that moving is actually, the stress of moving is as emotionally painful as divorce. And have you been through a divorce? You know what I mean there, right? Also, moving is as stressful as the loss of a loved one. So you begin to wonder, why do we do this? Can't you just move your house? But we're stuck a little bit with what we have to do in terms of moving a house. And you bring movers in, if you're lucky. The cost of it is over $10,000 for one move. And Americans right now are moving on average once every 5 years. So lifetime cost, you're talking over $100,000. Where does this money go? Nowhere. Wouldn't you rather put that into a house or a car, family vacation, who knows what? So why do we do it? Well, you know, we move for a lot of good reasons. School, family, love, retirement. Hey, maybe you like the weather somewhere else. You're just tired of where you are. But inevitably, jobs are a major reason that most people are moving. It didn't always was the case. People used to move for just one reason. It was food. Pretty good reason, actually, right? So if you look at the history of mankind, you have 160,000 years of known living, if you take the scientific viewpoint, and we were primarily nomadic. So what do? We ran around, we looked for berries, we bow and arrowed with a few deer, and we were feeding ourselves. About 13,000 years ago, we began to settle for the first time. And this was growing of crops, raising of animals. We had to stay in one place. Our options were a little limited. But along came this interesting phenomenon, Industrial Revolution. And this created not just factories, but it created cities, and it created the need and desire for mobility. Cars, trains, planes, larger boats. So the question is, will this have any impact on the way we move? Some would argue perhaps settlement was an anomaly. If we continue to move, maybe it's a blip. Maybe we have something in our DNA that wants us to move. I mean, you gone on vacation lately? Is that like a form of nomadism? I mean, heck, I'd be on vacation all the time if I could. So why are people moving? Where are they going? Well, they're all going to cities. And urban areas are growing 18 times faster than rural areas, especially in developing countries. If you look at a place like China, everyone is moving to cities, and a lot of it is about jobs. In 2007, something very interesting happened. Over 50% were living in cities of our world population, and we are now moving once every 5 years. So the question is, what is this doing? Well, it's putting tremendous stress on cities. If any of you have bought a house, anybody buy a house here? Was it like 30% of your income? Right, that's the recommended. Well, right now, think about buying a house or even renting where it's more than 50% of your income. In 2000, there were 10 American cities that met this criteria. 5 years later, there were 33. 5 years. This is pretty phenomenal. Can you imagine college graduates? Where are you going to go? To a city? Probably. Is it going to cost you more than 50% of your income? Yeah, probably. So there are some tremendous forces involved here. In addition, we've got this little problem called, I don't know, you might have heard of this thing called global warming. I think it might be a myth. Sorry, I'm trying to stay away from politics, but we've also got problems. Some say we might be running out of oil. We've got energy issues. Sustainability is a major concern. So today, we have very different concerns than we had before the Industrial Revolution, or even when it was starting to get its wheels rolling. We're talking about mobility, urban housing, sustainability, primary concerns that did not used to exist. This is a Sears catalog house. Early 1900s, Sears did an amazing job anticipating what people wanted and serving people's needs at that time. We now think of these things as our dream house. And we can't shake it. We like it so much. It's like a bad drug we can't get rid of. And it's expensive. So when we look at our criteria of mobility and urban housing and sustainability, how's our Sears house, how does it stack up? It ain't very mobile. Urban? You need a big piece of land. Where are you going to find that in a city? Sustainability? You ever try and heat and cool one of those? So when you look at the different aspects of our life, how we live, how we work, how we play, traditionally over the last century, they were largely separate domains. But with the introduction of technology, it begins to become this enveloping phenomenon that is doing something to these realms. It is actually pulling them together, blurring the boundaries. There's a lot of overlap. When we vacation, for instance, what is happening is that you are actually spending more time. And tourism now accounts for over 10% of the world's gross domestic product. So the Industrial Revolution has definitely evolved, and it's gone into the technological revolution. And what I'd like to talk about is some of those consequences and what they mean to all of us. Technology is getting smaller. We started off with large Cray supercomputers, and now we hold something in our hand, a smartphone, that is probably as powerful as those first computers, maybe more so. So desirable future dwellings, what will they look like? Well, I suggest that they will have 3 unusual ingredients, and we will need to combine them. And these ingredients are, first, they're somewhat unlikely, a shipping container. Now, why a shipping container? Well, this represents standards, and standards propagate phenomena widely. 50 years ago, these were invented, 50 years, if you can believe it, to unload ships. They went from many days or weeks to hours or days. They also are numerous in terms of the volume because they've been shipping all over. They've changed economics as we know it. And they're enough to wrap around the equator twice. Too high if you stack them end to end. So what you have is this global infrastructure for shipping. And this is very, very useful. So many people have thought, hey, why don't we build some houses out of them? Well, you could do that. Maybe not everybody's fond of the aesthetic. So that's why I look at the standards. The dimensional standards are very interesting with that. Then you have prefabrication related to shipping containers. People are making modules, sort of like the Sears Kit House. It's back. And you have all these different architects who are interested in prefabrication, and they're selling things online. And the good news is there's a lot of people interested in buying a prefabricated house in the next 5 years. Here's what it's going to look like. You know what? The American public don't like prefabricated houses. I mean, the people who anybody read Dwell magazine? Because, you know, we like them. But the regular Americans, they love RVs. RV ownership is at an all-time high. 1 in 12 car owners own an RV. 1 in 6 want to buy one. I mean, this is amazing when you think about it. And this is a form of prefabrication. Now, the problem with RVs is while they're mobile and more importantly, you don't have any boxes, all your stuff is in the RV, The scenery changes. That's it. Your house is always there with you. You can't park it in a city. Walmart, in fact, will allow you to park it in a Walmart parking lot. If anybody has been to the game, you'll see the RVs. They hang out at Walmart for a reason. So there's another piece right here, is the jump drive. And this is the third piece, with RVs being the second. I find these devices amazing. How many of you guys use jump drives? Pretty much everyone, right? Aren't they amazing? These little things you put in your pocket, they hold all of your stuff. So they are universal. They go in. You can take them abroad. They're very small. You slip them in your pocket. I know. I've washed several of them a couple of times. They're mobile. They take hardly any energy. And these are technologically advanced devices that are configurable. You can put anything you want on it. So the way I look at it, the jump drive, it holds your digital life. And for me, I mean, this is the fantasy. This is the dream. I want something that, I don't know, is like a jump box that holds my physical life, but has all those attributes. So if you look at it, it could be universal. If you had something with a standard, you could move it around. You could stick it into different slots in different cities. You could stay as long as you like. You could vacation in it. It would be configurable. It would be sustainable. LEED would be accrediting different things. You could configure it with different components. And all it takes is those standards. So the jump box would be the combination of these three different things. In my mind, you would have the jump drive, the shipping container, and the RV, and somehow they would get together and make all kinds of little babies. And when you look at it, there's actually an interesting phenomenon, and you know, it's sort of sad. Let's have a moment of silence for GM, because they had a brilliant idea, which never really came to market, and it's something called the high wire. And what this did was it took all of the basic components of the car and made them into like a skateboard or a deck. It was a chassis. Everything you needed in that vehicle was there. And then on top, you would just take whatever body style you like. You want something sleek and sexy. You want something tough. You want something cute. It doesn't matter. The deck stays the same. The top is interchangeable. That is the core idea for the jump box. The chassis would be a 100-year chassis with all of the pieces in it. It would be open source above that so that you would have standards and anybody could design the components. And let's just say, for instance, these shipping containers, if those of you haven't seen them, people are taking these boxes and they're unfolding them, expanding them, and putting all kinds of contents into them. And you take a box. We're just going to call it a box for now. And how does this work? Well, you have a box. If you had a building and Walmart has a parking lot and it can park RVs, why don't you just make a vertical parking lot? And you could lift things into that structure and then slide it in. And this is sort of how it looks, just conceptually. Just a box. Your truck would pull up. You would have a crane or something on a building, either internal or external, pick it up, lift it in. The facade would be operable. You could slide it in, close it up, and the building could end up looking very much like a building, but your unit. It's like an apartment building with a removable apartment that's like a VCR cartridge that you can live out of. I know, this sounds kind of crazy, but work with me. Because you've got your dream house, right? And what are you going to do? You have, I don't know, need for a baby room? How about a guest suite? What if one of these was your guest suite, but you could vacation in it because you can tow it like a car? Or maybe you could send your kid to college in it. And then when they get out of college, this becomes their first urban apartment. They live out of it. And they own it. They're not paying rent. They might be paying like a fee to park in the building, but they're building equity. And then they can upgrade it over time. They can fit it out however they want. Easily and cheaply, kind of like your IKEA wrench. So a few other things: mass production and customization. Levittown introduced housing after the war. That's what people wanted. There were 750 square feet, 2 bedrooms. Do they look like this today? No. People have changed them massively. over 700,000 units. People want predictable environments. They want to be able to order online. Build it, see the price, order it. No surprises. They want branding. That gives people identity. You're probably not wearing many custom-made clothes here. So you take Ralph Lauren with vintage Airstreams, and they have decked them out, branded them, and they sell them. So I'm going to give you a quick sneak preview. Several companies are working on the development of jump boxes. And I would ask you not to share this. These really aren't ready for prime time yet, but because of the importance of this talk, the companies have allowed me to present these. Burberry, developing something for your child or your adult who loves Burberry. You get it to where you want to go. It expands, and it's got the Burberry plaid. Gotta have it. Puma, soccer players travel all over. They can expand, get to a field. They do training. They have a gym inside. Apple. Looks like an Apple product. It expands, right? Steve Jobs would have this no less. And everything's controlled remotely with your iPhone. Heating, lighting, cooling, sound, security. And Under Armour. Configurable pieces. You put them all together any way you want, and then you take it wherever you need to go, to your triathlon, of course, right? Leatherman, doing something a little different. They're actually using, you could have emergency relief vehicles. So Leatherman has, of course, they unfold. It's got to unfold. It's a Leatherman. Goes to a place like Haiti, doctors. It can house 12 people temporarily. And these can all be shipped by boat or train or even plane. And Black Entertainment Television, you'd think they'd do something different, and they have. They want to go around to urban environments, find the latest, greatest new hip-hop crew possible. And it's a mobile recording studio that you can live out of. All right? So that's the jump box, destination anywhere. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. Fantastic. Okay, thanks very much.